Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Automated Advantage. Today we have Jimmy Freese on, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Yeah, my company is called AI Fish. My name is Jimmy Freeze, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of our company. And we use artificial intelligence and build AI models that analyze imagery and video, primarily in the marine space. So we do a lot of work with commercial fishing, and we have a tool for regulatory purposes, and we have output and a tool for and software for the fishermen to help them fish more efficiently.
So I
That's,
know everybody wants to know where to find the best fish, right? So maybe just tell us a little bit more about how this came about, what your background is. Just give us the background, and then be like a little bit super specific about how you're helping and I like the angle that you told me the other day about the environmental impact of finding not getting the babies and stuff like that. So,
okay, yeah, yeah. So this started with my business partner and I, who previously he worked for me for my other company, which we build software that designs surfboards and they're made. We make surfboards with shaping machines that we used to build. So around 2018, 2019, we started talking and we saw that AI was going to be a serious thing. So the joke we have, like, I'm like, well, you took an AI class at Berkeley, so let's go start an AI company. But we both had mathematical backgrounds in this area, and so as we were looking and kind of scanning the different sort of areas and problems we could solve, we talked with somebody at NOAA, and this person had convinced us that this was a going to be a big problem. There's just going to be way more video than there are people to watch it. And we both surfers, we both like the ocean, and so this is sort of a natural fit for us, which was let's see if we can really help the ocean and use artificial intelligence to do something for good. So yeah, so one of the things that technology that we provide really can help the fishermen fish more discriminately. And in the case of like a big eye tuna, which we call ahi over here, which is what they target, that a fish that's four times as big is also worth four times more money per pound generally. So a larger fish is, you're looking at like a 15x if you catch maybe like a 30 pounder versus a 120 or 150. So getting these big ones is really, really nice. And the win-win-win is it's also really good. So it's good for the fishermen. They make more money. It's good for us because we can help guide them and give them pattern recognition as to how they're catching, where they're setting their lines and going after these fish that generally sit lower in the water column. But, fish move around a lot. So it's a tricky game to go find the exact ones you want. And from a sustainability point of view, it's very nice because you're keeping the juveniles in the ocean. So they give them a chance to reproduce and you get your bigger, more fatty fish. So that's one of the things that's very helpful for the ocean. Another thing is being able to provide real time catch data analysis. So we use little edge device computers that live on the boat, and then they can talk with satellite or cell. Starlink is a popular one that a lot of the fishermen use here in Hawaii. And the stock assessment people are very interested in when we get a critical mass of these devices on the boats as to getting real time data as to where fish are and how and what sizes and that kind of thing. So, and where they're migratory. I mean, these guys do all kinds of models to try to figure out what's happening with fish moving, fish populations, and that obviously bubbles up to an economic importance for especially a lot of the small island developing states in the Western Central Pacific, south of us here in Hawaii. A lot of their economic livelihood is around the fishing. So if there are models that say during this event, like global warming is a big event, and then there's sort of events within the events like El Nino, La Nina. And so if there's those type of events, it helps them sort of maybe be able to like stomach a shock, you know. Um, so it's like a lot of things these days. It's about providing data.
yeah. So I'm going to ask like a very ignorant question. So where the images you talk about, where are they being generated from?
Yeah, so that's no, it's not. A lot of people don't. I mean, very few people hang out on commercial fishing boats in general. We have a camera on the deck that's kind of above the fishing activity, and then so we take care in the placement of these cameras. Sometimes we're given footage from existing cameras, and that's fine too. But mostly you're trying to get above where they're actually fishing, and then you kind of want a little view of the ocean, or we have another camera that looks over the ocean. And so these cameras are kind of high in the air. They use about 10 feet high, and then you can and ideally you get a good two clean frames of the fish. Then we do an identification of that fish, and we do a sizing, and then we count it. They threw it in, or they threw it back. Most of the guys in Hawaii, what they catch, what comes on the boat, stays on the boat, of course.
Okay, that's, I mean, that puts it in perspective. And then, and so you said this earlier too. So it's like commercial fishing companies and even some of the smallest. Are you then focused around Hawaii? Is it national, up and down the coast,
It,
or wherever people
yeah,
go?
no, it's international for us. We've done projects in Costa Rica and east and west coast of Canada and the U.S., Alaska, and we're talking with different groups, whether or not they might be government agencies or there might be people that are like companies and focused on fishing around the world. So our a lot of our focus is on tuna because we're based here in Hawaii, and so there's a lot of tuna around here, and roughly half the world's tuna comes out of the ocean just south of us. So there's a lot of fishing and tuna stuff. And we've got a lot of tuna data, so our algorithms have gotten good with tuna. But the other one we do a lot of, and it's a big industry also, is trawl fishing. Or they drag nets underwater and then they catch big schools of fish. And that's also important because regulators and fishermen want to know if are they getting the fish they're targeting, because in a net situation you can get a lot of fish. And so we have composition analysis and algorithms that will say, okay, it looks like you've got about 85% of, let's say, red rockfish, and that's what your target is. So, but you can look over catch over catch over catch. You might be like, wait a minute, we've got, routinely you're getting a handful of protected species in these catches, and you're only getting 20% of what you're targeting. We need to talk. So that's kind of what happens.
I mean, that's interesting because again, my only reference to all of this is watching The Deadliest Catch, and where they drive up and down and up and down and up and down and look
Yeah,
at the radars and then throw the pods out and come back in a week. And sometimes they're full and sometimes there's nothing in there.
yeah, yeah. It's fishing. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and we were kids. I grew up in South Africa, and we did the traditional type of fishing, but we were so spoiled by the fact that there was so much that we used to end up, anything less than 5 pounds was
it's
put
too
back, and we
yeah,
came back the next year and got it.
cool. Yeah,
So talk about, you said, previous business. You obviously have been in the surfing, ocean fishing business for a while. So um, maybe as you're looking at maybe tell us, when you came out of college, you got a job, or did you start doing this? So you've always been an entrepreneur.
yeah. Well, sort of. I'm a chemical engineer by trade and education. So, but my first job out of college was with big company Motorola making microchips. So I made microprocessors for a year, and then I entered into graduate school program, and and then during that time, a friend of mine started an internet company, and this was like 2000, 2001. And that was a fun ride. We raised a lot of money and we spent it. Um, so, so I learned a lot there. The Not long after that, I went to Australia and I met some people, and that's how I started the surfboard design software company. My dad and I were kind of partners on that, and it was sort of like started off as a hobby that once we got sort of users and we kind of tuned in things, okay, we could sell this to people. Um, so that's kind of how it started. I mean, not necessarily by accident. I think when we put in enough work, remember at one point my dad's like, "Hey Jim, like people actually want to buy this thing." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we've been doing." So we got the ball rolling on that one. Um, I think for artificial intelligence, it looked like a good time, and And then it's a fair amount of the mathematics that I studied in graduate school: process control, control theory, time series analysis, and
Yeah, and
matrix.
I mean, I think it's intriguing in the sense that I've been speaking to so many people lately, and it will shock you to know that everybody's trying to position an AI angle. And what I find intriguing about this conversation is if you told me, if you'd said to me, pick the top, even I don't even know, 100 things that I thought AI could enhance, automate, I don't know that fishing would would have been on the list. And so I mean, to me, it was when you and I first spoke, I was like, wow, that's a unique business model. And
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of what I've done in the past is going after, the areas that aren't too crowded, and trying to see if, we could build something there. And then also it helps when it's interesting to you. So, I like surfing. So the surfboard design software was a lot of fun, and I like fish. I like the ocean. That helps. I
yeah.
think our team really likes it too. I feel like we attract engineers that are interested in this type of work versus some of the other stuff that, is done in the AI world, which is, a pretty broad term. But I do like to differentiate that we are more of like an analytical AI. So we don't generate anything. We can't, write sentences for you or make a picture or make a video for you. We analyze what's in the videos and what's in the images, and then we hope we're accurate.
Yeah, no, no, I mean, I think that that's actually another really, good comment in the sense that there's so many, AI upfront where you're developing something and putting it out there, or something that you're taking advantage of, whether it be, like lawyers analyzing contracts and things like that, and you guys are doing a version of analyzing information that's out there way faster than anyone. I mean, what historically, if there was a way people were doing it, what they were taking pictures, sharing with their friends, or reporting from the boat and saying, "Hey, there's a lot of fish out there." I mean, it, it's evolved.
Yeah, and that in my view, in both sort of fishing and maritime in general, there is space for more digitization and using this kind of technology. There are electronic logbooks that the captains would use, and then there's sometimes there's onboard observers, and that's what's kind of more expensive. So that's why this business kind of went towards cameras, and then now there's just way too much footage for people to watch. So we don't have enough people sitting in front of screens that have biology degrees that. So that's our job, is to make those people and those trained people much faster and kind of almost make their job more fun, because like combing through a lot of fishing is a lot of not fishing happening, right? But you don't want to miss anything. Whereas we can get them right to the events and say, okay, you want to identify this, or do you want to see if this protected species was handled correctly, or those kind of things. So
Yeah, and I mean, I've got to believe that also that I ask people too. It's like, I understand what your target audience is, or target clientele is. And so on that note, I like, how are you finding business? What are people finding you? Are you actively going after them?
both, yeah, we've gone to a lot of conferences and meetings. I meet people at those things. We actively seek them out. We actively ask for referrals. Anybody that's interested in this, and then there's sort of cold calls and cold emails to groups that look like we could help them. So, and again, it ranges from, it could be a guy owns one or two vessels, and he wants to use the tools, all the way to a conglomerate that owns like 250 boats, that kind of thing. So
A very unique value proposition for sure. So again, rewinding it just a little bit. So obviously been entrepreneurial and starting up these things. So I always ask one question to almost everybody is like, if somebody's sitting out there and have an idea, whatever it is, and want to think about starting a business, what's your advice to them?
I mean, go for it. Go for it. I guess like first thing that comes to mind is like slow and smooth is sort of what in the sense of like um, I think the things that I've learned over the years are when you get a good idea, it doesn't mean you need to like execute it and put it out there, right away. And I think that's the case for most things. Obviously, in highly competitive areas, that changes a little bit. But in sort of the areas that I've been in, it's better to do it right and build a good product and and get feedback from your customers versus trying to put something out there really fast that. Um, so yeah, over the course of time, we made our mistakes and those kind of things. But so that's it. I mean, I'm big on analysis. I think I learn a lot when I do a lot of analysis on. I mean, we looked at a lot of markets, and you just talked about legal when we were doing AI, and that made a lot of sense to us. Insurance looked like in 2019 that there was a lot of areas that AI could help make that paperwork nightmare that happens in insurance companies. But to us, insurance was less exciting than the ocean and fish. So that's sort of how we.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah, because it's funny you say that. Go for it. I don't know what the percentage is. One day I'll do the analysis, but there's 50-50. People say go for it, just take your chance, and others go, oh, run away and don't do it.
No, I say go for it. Otherwise, I think most people that once you start thinking about something and the thought keeps entering your head, you don't want to regret it. You want to at least try it. Again, from my experience, it really really helps to do things that you find interesting, personally, and interesting things for your team. So I think I think it's always a hard one when motivation starts to dwindle, and that's obvious because then you feel like you're just forcing yourself to your desk and you're doing that, or you're forcing
Yeah.
yourself to read a paper that you don't think is. And that would probably have been us if we gone into insurance. Not trying to knock the insurance. A good friend of mine is a really good insurance agent, but you know we probably keep thinking about fish and not
Yeah.
insurance problems.
Yeah, exactly. And every time you go fishing, you can tell your family, it's, "Hey, I'm going to work, right?
Going
I'm
to
going to
work.
do some research or surfing, whichever one it is."
Right, right.
Uh, so, from an entrepreneur's perspective and doing your business, I don't know if there is such a thing, but like, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, good question. Usually I try to keep it to a few meetings. So I have we have a meeting with our team each day, our software team, and that's kind of what we call stand-ups. So software, so people are just basically quickly talking about what they're working on and mostly what's blocking them. And then I have obviously I got to tend to emails, and that can take time. It'll range. Like last month, we had 3 proposals in the month that we were writing. So if I'm in a cycle like that, then we're working on these proposals, and those can take time as you want to write those pretty well. But like next week, I've got a fair amount of customer meetings that I'm talking to people about and doing some and that can range from let's get a system on your boat to a customer discovery, sort of almost like a usefulness and a bit of usability testing, sort of what do what do you guys want? I mean, we try to be very careful not to output software that isn't useful. And I know that sounds obvious, but it's sort of our view that some of the things that we're seeing as AI tools can build things really fast. The usefulness isn't fully thought through. The building part gets engineers excited, and then you haven't thought about sort of, are people really going to use this, and how? So
No, I mean, I think that's great, and that's the best part of the entrepreneur thing. You got a lot on your plate, but there's never a dull moment, and never a day that looks and feels the same.
yeah, that's it. And you got to wear a bunch of different hats, and some days you got to get good at context switching, even if you don't want to. And then other days, I have days where I block out sort of time where, I make it a point to sort of um, work on some stuff that, uninterrupted long work, could be reading, or it could be, so it varies. A lot of interaction with the team and a lot of interaction we're currently raising money. So I'm focusing on investors and and that process. So it, just depends on what phase we're in. If you asked me a few months ago, I would have been working hard on transferring from an LLC to incorporation and putting together term sheets and working with lawyers and that kind of thing. And now that we've got, all of those kind of finalized, we've got, other things to do. Business.
Not to put you on the spot here, but just also interesting to me with various folks in various in doing different things. So you're solving a problem and you're leveraging AI up like in your day to day business world. Are you doing like you said on RFPs and stuff like that? Are you even doing that, or are you starting from scratch?
Well, no. The tools are, as you know, rapidly evolving depending on which sort of platform you're using, and each one's have their different strengths that we've used and we've noticed. So yes, we do use the tools to help us sort of organize, sort of maybe like who we're talking to. I mean, we don't have let's say we don't have a formalized CRM system because I got a lot of developers, and so we build things that are customizable to what we're trying to do. And we have a pretty good system that keeps track of, let's say who we're talking to and what we're working on with that. Similarly, I mean, we, you got all these little skills and agents that you can build. And, so I have one that does a really good job in project management and sort of keeping sort of it organized for the team and the engineers, sort of what they're working on. Yeah, there's something, I mean, with a proposal, let's say, for example, it's nice if you take some of your old proposals and then stick them in a bucket and then talk to your LLM is sort of say, okay, I know we wrote about this. It just saves a lot of time in searching for things, but what did we quote this at? Or what did we say here? Or, what did that kind of thing. So yeah, we are actively using the tools and watching them evolve.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So, no, this was I really appreciated. This was super interesting. Like I said, when we first spoke, I was very intrigued, and I didn't understand enough, and I feel like I still don't understand enough, but I definitely understand more as to what you guys are doing. So, I really appreciate you being on. So maybe you can just once again tell us name of the company, website, where to get you on LinkedIn, whatever it is.
Yeah. So the name of the company is AI Fish, and that's actually our URL at www.ai.fish. And we're on LinkedIn under AI Fish. And that's primarily our main social platform. We're not doing a whole lot of stuff on the Twitter X or other ones. So LinkedIn, you can catch us there. Our website has some information. And yeah, that's what we do.
I appreciate it. So, Jimmy, again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your Friday today. Hopefully, the fish are biting this weekend or the surf's up or whatever it is, but really appreciate it.
Greg, great talking with you. Thanks for having me.